Switch 2, finally a thing. Happy to hear about it. What's going on, everyone? It is Zach, and I usually make Pokemon content if you are new to the channel, but I also like to talk about things that interest me, and that usually includes Nintendo and Nintendo affiliated games. Have been playing a lot of Marvel Rivals, but today we are going to talk about the Nintendo Switch 2. First off, the name, don't mind it. It's more or less what we kind of expected. I'm glad they didn't go for some weird name. I think a lot of the things you see with the Nintendo Switch 2 still comes from concerns of marketing errors with the Wii U. So let's take a look at it. Let's talk about it. If you guys enjoy this content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know what you think about the Switch 2 announcement in the comments down below. So it is going to be muted. And so right off the bat, we just see the OG Switch, and it goes through this transformation here. And I think this was a really good idea to show the size difference of the Switch, because if you're looking at just an image of the Nintendo Switch 2 and the Nintendo Switch, they don't look very different. So I think showing how the models have changed between the Switch 1 and the Switch 2 is really important to show, people who aren't looking at the nitty-gritty details of their consoles. You see the transformation here. I hope we get more of a matte design. There's the bottom, you got the top, the power button, the volume, and the top USB port. So one, I think the headphone jack still being here is pretty good. Don't use mine too often, but when I do like it. And I know that now they do have like the option to use Bluetooth headsets, but I heard that kind of messes up any other wireless option, that like controllers or whatnot that you're using with it. So if I'm using headphones, I'm usually using wired. For competitive Pokemon, like if you're using headphones, they require you to have wired headphones anyway. So good to see that's still there as well. But the top USB port, and I think the main two reasons why they added this is, one, for additional accessories. There are going to be accessories that probably can be used not only in handheld, but also with the dock. And I think that's what they're going to do to utilize the top USB Type-C port. And I think another reason why they added the top USB Type-C is because you were kind of like out of luck if you wanted to use any kind of controller, wired controller, when the Switch was in handheld, or especially like tabletop mode, for example. So unless you bought like one of these little stands that have like the USB ports on the side, and these older ones are actually really hard to find now. They do have a newer model that is better though. But if you didn't have one of those and you wanted to play tabletop with controllers, especially more than one controller, you were out of luck. So I think the top USB here is an option for charging, an option for wired controllers in that tabletop mode. And I think we're going to eventually, within the Nintendo Switch 2's lifespan, probably see accessories that can be used in both like docked and handheld modes, and you're going to need that additional USB Type-C port for most of those. Like think of Labo, for example. There's a lot of stuff that they brought out for the Nintendo Switch, but you really could only use them in handheld because of how the setup went. And I think they have more planned for this top USB Type-C port. So I'm excited to see this. So next up is the kickstand. And I'm really not sure how I feel about it, because while it does look like a sleeker design, and it might be nice for like weaving cables from that top USB-C port through it when you're in tabletop, that way it's not like hanging over the screen, you can just weave it out and around. I think it looks flimsier than the OLED. Like here with the OLED Switch, you got that big thick, and I think it was such a great improvement over the original Switch kickstand. And I'm worried that this is going to be broken very easily, especially by like children that own this console. I could see that getting snapped, using it like a handle to carry their Switch around. I don't know how I feel about that. I would have been okay to have that full, that back opening, even if it resulted in a little bit of a thicker console. I think I would have preferred the OLED kickstand design over this one. We see the tabletop, we see that you get more angles out of it, just like with the OLED model. And here are the Joy-Cons. And once again, they are showing the difference. Like they're directly changing right in front of you, just so you could see the difference between the old Joy-Cons and the new Joy-Cons. Our biggest concern is the inside, especially Joy-Con drift. Like, is this still going to be an issue? Have they moved to the Hall Effects joysticks? We'll find out. Another thing I'm bummed about is that it, and we'll talk about it later, but it kind of eliminates a lot of third-party Joy-Cons. So we see they added the splash of color to differentiate the left and right Joy-Cons. I wonder if that's going to be on all of them. I hope not, with like the different colors. Like think of the arms, neon yellow ones with like the blue and the red on top. It wouldn't really look great. Okay, the arrows are still there. It wasn't on the first render when they first like showed up. But yeah, here is the new ports. The new connection. It is a magnetic connection, so that seems really interesting. And a lot of people are worried about the connector, but I don't know. But like I said, this kind of eliminates not only just the size, but also the way they attach to the Nintendo Switch 2. This kind of eliminates previous Joy-Cons and third-party Joy-Cons. Like think of the Nitro Deck and stuff like that, and the Hori split pads. Anything really that like wraps around the Switch or uses that rail system is going to be a no-go. But I think that manufacturers really aren't that worried about it, because that means they get to sell you more controllers, and I'm kind of okay with it as long as they're good. But the big point of mystery is this little port right here, and a lot of people think that this is a optical, like a laser pointer that you would see at the bottom of a mouse. So people are now speculating that we're going to see mouse-like capabilities out of the Joy-Cons, which I think would be pretty interesting to see whether games would prefer that or even enable it outside of Nintendo's like first-party software. The buttons are bigger from what we see. We see the additional button on the back to connect and disconnect, and here is the whole little slider thing and the Joy-Con rails, grips, little hand strap. I'm curious to note like how many people actually use the wrist straps and use that grip, because it is nice for those two top buttons, but it doesn't seem like these grips here, these wrist straps here, really benefit the SL and SR buttons. So it looks like it focuses more on whatever the new feature is that we see with them. And then on this Joy-Con here, we see this button under the home button. So this kind of shows that there is a new feature that is programmed like right into the Switch. We've seen leaks where there is a C on it, and so a lot of people think that this might be a community tab feature, but we'll have to see when we hear more information. Another thing I noticed that I want to point out, I actually just noticed it. If you look on your OG Switch Joy-Cons, there is that ring, and if you have looked into it at all, you know that this little ring that is around the home button is an LED light, and that it can be triggered in some situations, but Nintendo never used it, and we never know what Nintendo intended for it. So here we see that it's gone. There is no LED ring around the home button, and so I guess that means whatever they had planned is gone. It's not going to be there. And so they slowed this little sliding motion, so what is this going to be used for? Are they going to be used like mice? We see the snapping in feature here, and the color on the insides to indicate, you know, which controller goes where. And I think it looks pretty sleek. I mean, it's more or less the same of what we expected. And oh my goodness, I had no problem all day, and now all of a sudden, now that I hit record, I'm coughing. Of course, like the leaks kind of killed the hype a little, because we saw everything. We saw so much from these leaks that we kind of knew what the Switch 2 was going to look like. But I mean, like, a lot of stuff besides the Joy-Con drift, it's not broke. Don't fix it. It works well. I think it will continue to work. I have no gripes with it being a very similar design, because Nintendo knows what they did the first time with the original Switch. It worked. And hopefully they did take our feedback when it comes to the Joy-Con drift, and we saw that they kind of worked with the kickstand after the Switch OLED. Here, the big Mario Kart thing. Now, a lot of people are noting here that there are a lot more than 12 starting spots on this course, so a lot of people believe that the next Mario Kart will include a lot more racers. I think someone said if you count it, it's 24, 6, 12. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be 24. And so a lot of people are assuming that this is Mario Kart 9. A lot of the rumors speculated that Mario Kart 9 will drop with the Switch 2. And people have already analyzed this, saying that with the carts, you're going to, like, we see new carts, we see a little design tweaks for Mario and Donkey Kong, but for all we know, this is the next Mario Kart. And I mean, off the bat, it doesn't look that much better than Mario Kart 8, in all honesty, but this is a screen recorded, edited into a video that is playing at 720p on a a 1080 monitor. So we'll have to see the game when it comes out and see how it exactly really looks. And so this is a new course. I believe that the next screenshot, let's see. Yeah, they said that Mario's face looks a little rounder. Luigi's cart is new. I believe Mario's cart is new as well. And then we see it docked. Some things I noticed right off the bat is that the front of the Switch 2, the part that shows the screen, is a little shorter, rounded off. And a lot of people are speculating that it's going to use the top part of the screen while it's docked to show like some form of notification or whatever. I don't really see what's the point in that. Most people are keeping their docks like, to the side, like sideways, like mine back there, and mine on my, my computer desk is on the side, or in a entertainment center. So how much are people really going to use any form of notification that comes up on that? And then if you're playing from the TV, you're probably sitting away from the dock. Like, how many people are going to see it? I don't know about that. Another thing I noticed though is that you can actually see little legs at the bottom, which is not present in the original Switch dock. And I have the OLED dock right next to me. It's not present there as well. It's more of a flat surface. So I would have to assume that's probably for cooling. There might be a little fan vents under there to, bring in more air. More air intake means more cooling. And hopefully that means that we have a sizable, beefier console compared to the first Switch, which we should. We see the new Joy-Con controller grip, the dog face controller as people like to call it. with the Nintendo Switch 2 logo. And one thing, maybe it's how I paused it, it doesn't look like the Joy-Cons with the thing sit like super flush. So I'm kind of worried that it's going to feel weird. And I guess that's to take them out easier. Because if we use this, for example, I don't feel like if the black part of this rail had color, there'd be enough to really show it. So design difference, I guess, but and then how it detaches. 2025. This is one thing that if you were following the leaks, if you were following Nintendo on social media, because they kind of already said it, the Switch 2 will have exclusive games, but it will also be backward compatible. Thank goodness. My biggest question is, what do we see from the previous games when it comes to the enhanced features that the Switch 2 could offer? Are we going to see games get updated to run better or look better on the Switch 2? Are we going to see like Switch 2 upgrades, kind of like how we saw with like the Xbox 360 to the Xbox One, where a game came out for both, but you could pay extra money to get the enhanced version for the new console or whatever? We're probably going to see another copy of Skyrim, in all honesty. But this is really good because this makes all the games that are coming out until the Switch 2 still viable to sell well. I feel like Donkey Kong Country Returns HD is coming out for the Switch, so I feel like if they didn't clarify this, like, people would be hesitant on picking up new Switch games that are going to continue to come out. I hope that they do update some of the games. I think Pokemon could use a little more optimization, and I think the Switch 2 could give it that power. But we'll probably see something like the DS era with the 3DS, where the next gen, the Switch 2, will have a little notch, some kind of indication that will prevent it from going into a Switch 1. But also here on the screen, you can see the side-by-side of the size difference between, I would assume that looks like, based on the bezel, it's an OG Switch and not a Switch OLED. But the size difference in the consoles itself. And I'm excited. The controllers seem a little more rounded, probably a little better for the ergonomics and the grip. And I think that it's good that they clarified this, because this is what you're going to see on the screen at Target on the sample kiosk for the Nintendo Switch. This is what you're going to see being played on articles written all over the internet, or YouTube videos. And I think for people who aren't super invested but want to know about the Switch 2, I feel like this is an important thing that they need to get out, and they need to make sure that everyone knows that Switch 1 games will be compatible. And last but not least, April 2nd, we will see a Switch 2 Direct, which we will probably find out pricing, probably a little bit of some specs, what games are coming out. And it being in late April means that it probably is still going to give a month or two for pre-orders and for people to get to know it a little better, and for people to get the system. So I can see it coming out in June. I do think Nintendo really benefited from the Switch being such a big success, but coming out in March, where they were able to really prepare for the holiday season. So I do think they want to release it as soon as possible, but I do think that's going to be early June. And I can't wait to find out what games are they going to push with the Switch 2, because they need games. Mario Kart 9 is going to be awesome. But I could honestly see them releasing Mario Kart 9 for both systems. Metroid Prime 4 feels like a game that is going to be their big holiday game. And so I hope that's the case, because that means Metroid Prime will come out this year. And when we hear it in the Direct, it will be for sure. But I also think they did this because I think there's a Direct coming in February. There will also be the Pokemon Day stuff as well. So we should find out more stuff and from now until the April 2nd, but for the most part, like that's all we're gonna hear from Nintendo. That's all we're gonna hear about Mario Kart and Mario games and all that stuff. But I'm excited. There are some things we did not see. We did not see what kind of flash card it uses. We'll probably find this out during the direct. The leaks and the rumors, which are now pretty sure that they're all true, because there was a lot of stuff that came out that told us that this was going to happen, all the screenshots and all that stuff. And one of the rumors is that it's going to use micro SD Express, which is a SanDisk type of memory card that allows for faster like data transfer and downloads and all that stuff. So honestly, if I would say anything, once they confirm it in April, like April 2nd, April 3rd, whatever the next paycheck, get a good memory card and get it directly from SanDisk, or keep your eye on prices on Amazon, because those Nintendo branded ones are so overpriced. Like eventually they dropped down in price, but they were like, you were paying like 1.5 times more for the same amount of storage just because there was a mushroom on it or there was a Pokemon. That Gengar one looked really sweet though. But I wouldn't overpay for that, but I would get them early. I would get them as soon as they confirm what kind of additional memory card they have. Like if it's the micro SD Express, like as soon as they confirm that, I plan on pre-ordering mine, because I feel like once the Nintendo Switch 2 does come out, those memory cards are going to be hard to find in places like Amazon. The prices are going to inflate. So I would keep an eye on that. That's the only thing that I would say additionally. And I plan on talking more about the Nintendo Switch 2 when we find out about it. But other than that, I'll be streaming some Pokemon stuff whenever I get the time to do that. If you guys enjoyed this content, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're interested in Pokemon stuff. This is a channel that I would love to have you join in on. And let me know what you think about the Nintendo Switch 2. Are you excited? Are you whatever about it because it looks the same? Are you bummed? What do you think about the name? I don't know. Either way, that's going to be all. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Till next time, I'm Zach, and we'll see everyone later.